Welcome to the briefing on trematodes. So trematodes are basically classified as helminths. So trematodes, or the name trematodes, is derived from a Greek word called as trema, which means hole, and idios, that means appearance, because it is having suckers with a hole in the middle. These trematodes are leaf-shaped, broad, flat and unsegmented worms. They do not have a body cavity. These trematodes are also called as flukes. So commonly we can refer them, or commonly we can call them as flukes. They vary in size from about 1 mm to several centimeters. They have suckers. As we just discussed, these trematodes have suckers. These are organs of attachment. These are two strong muscular cup-shaped depressions. There are oral suckers as well as ventral suckers. The oral suckers are surrounding the mouth, and the ventral suckers are present on the ventral surface of the body. The ventral suckers are also called as acetabulum. The sexes are not separate. These are hermaphrodite. Trematodes are hermaphrodite except the cystosomes. Trematodes possess an alimentary canal which is incomplete. Anus is absent. It possesses an excretory and nervous system. It has its own reproductive systems with genital organs. The worms are oviparous. That means the female worm lays eggs. Coming to the classification, trematodes can be classified systemically, but for common use, for general use, the classification based on habitat is followed. So we have the classification based on habitat as the blood flukes, the liver flukes, the lung fluke, and the intestinal flukes. The blood flukes, or the example of blood flukes, are Cystosoma species. So we have three important species of Cystosoma. We have Cystosoma hematobium, found in the vesical venous plexus. We have Cystosoma mansoni, found in the rectal venous plexus, and Cystosoma japonicum, found in the portal venous system. Then we have the liver flukes like Fasciola hepatica. Then we have the lung fluke like Paragonimus westermani. We have the intestinal flukes. We have Fasciolopsis buski, found in the small intestine, and Gastrodiscoides hominis, found in the large intestine. So let's revise it once again. We have the blood flukes, liver flukes, lung fluke, and the intestinal flukes. Three important species are there of Cystosoma. So we have Cystosoma hematobium, which are found in the vesical venous plexus, Cystosoma mansoni, found in the rectal venous plexus, and Cystosoma japonicum, found in the portal venous system. Then we have the liver flukes like Fasciola hepatica. We have the lung fluke like Paragonimus westermani, and we have the intestinal fluke like Fasciolopus buski, found in the small intestine, and Gastrodiscoides hominis, found in the large intestine. Coming to Cystosoma, now for the briefing today, we will be doing Cystosoma in details. Coming to the common names of the three important species, we have Cystosoma hematobium. These are called as the vesical blood fluke, Cystosoma japonicum called as the oriental blood fluke, and Cystosoma mansoni, the Manson's blood fluke. Coming to the habitat, The cystosoma habitat of Cystosoma hematobium. The adult worms are found in copulation in the pelvis venous plexus, the vesicle, prostrates, and the uterine plexuses of veins. Then coming to Cystosoma mansoni, the adult worms are seen in the mesenteric veins of the sigmoidorectal area and in the portal veins branches. Then we have Cystosoma japonicum. The adult worms are seen in intrahepatic portion of portal venous system. Then they can also be found in the mesenteric veins draining the ileocecal region and the rectal plexus of the veins. Coming to the morphology, the cystosomes can be found as adult worms. The adult worms have male and female sexes separately. The male is 10 to 15 mm long and 1 mm thick, and it is covered with a fine tuberculate cuticle. It has two muscular suckers, the oral and the ventral sucker. The oral sucker is small and the ventral suckers are large and prominent. Beginning immediately behind the ventral sucker is the caudal end. Okay, it possesses a gynecophoric canal in which the female worm is held in copulation. The female is long and slender. The gravid worms contain 20 to 30 eggs in its uterus at one time, and it passes up to 300 eggs per day. So the female lays a huge quantity of eggs per day. So this is a picture of male and female cystosoma. So this is the male worm. This long and slender is the female worm, and it is held in the gynecophoric canal in copulation. Let's move on. The next morphological form is the eggs. The eggs are ovoid, 150 by 50 microns in dimensions. The eggs are non-operculated. The eggs of other trematode species are operculated. Operculated means they have a lid-like structure. But cystosoma eggs are non-operculated. They don't have a lid-like structure. So these eggs are non-operculated with a brownish yellow transparent shell carrying a terminal spine or spike at one pole. So terminal spike is seen in Cystosoma hematobium. So here we have the egg of Cystosoma hematobium with a terminal spike. Then we have egg of Cystosoma mansoni with a lateral spike. And lastly, we have egg of Cystosoma japonicum with a lateral knob-like structure. So these spikes and these knobs are the specialities or special characteristic features of eggs of Cystosoma. Then the next morphological form of cystosoma is the Cercaria. Cercaria is the larval form of cystosoma. So these are long and elongated bodies, and they are having an ovoid body and a forked tail. So the Cercaria of cystosoma is long, elongated with a forked tail. Coming to the life cycle of cystosoma. So cystosoma requires two different hosts to complete its life cycle. So it has a definitive host and an intermediate host. Okay, so first we'll see about Cystosoma hematobium. The definitive host is man and the intermediate host is snail. The same thing goes with Cystosoma mansoni and japonicum. The definitive host is man and the intermediate host is snail. So we can see that commonly in all the three species, the definitive host is man, whereas the intermediate host is the snail, but the species of snails are different. So Cystosoma hematobium is found in the veins of the vesicle and the pelvic plexus. Manzoni is seen in the inferior mesenteric veins and its branches, and Cystosoma japonicum is found in the superior mesenteric vein and its branches. Coming to the life cycle of Cystosoma species. So we'll begin with the eggs. So eggs are the infective form to humans. These eggs are found in fresh waters. So we have water which is contaminated with the egg of Cystosoma species. Cystosoma hematobium, Mansonia and japonicum. The eggs hatch out releasing a miracidium. A miracidium is a ciliated form. It is a larval form of this parasite. This miracidium penetrates the snail. Okay, the snail is present in the water and the eggs are also present in the water. So egg hatches out this miracidium, it swims and it infects the snail. And in this way it reaches its intermediate host. Okay, then the miracidium further develops into different forms. So it first develops into a sporocyst inside the snail, and then it develops into a cercaria again inside the snail. And then this cercaria is released in the water. This cercaria then swims freely and infects humans. Humans come in contact with this cercaria when they are in the contaminated water. Okay, when humans enter in the contaminated water, this cercaria finds the human and infects. Infection is through penetration of the skin. The bare skin is penetrated by this cercaria. This cercaria then inside this host, cercaria inside the human, loses its tail and now becomes into a small or turns into a small form which is called as cystosomule. Okay, so this cystosomule then enters into circulation and it migrates to the portal blood in the liver and it matures into an adult over there. And then it reaches its habitat or its site where it remains in copulation with the female and the female lays eggs. So it is seen that, these adult worms then migrate to the vesicle and the pelvic venous plexus and the female lays eggs over there. These eggs are then passed in the urine and feces, and the eggs reach the water bodies, and again they will find its intermediate host. So in this way, the cystosoma completes its life cycle. Coming to the site where the mature adult worm lays eggs. So we have Cystosoma hematobium. The eggs are found in the vesicle and the pelvic venous plexus. From these venules, the egg pass the vesicle wall and then they go into the lumen of the urinary bladder and are passed into the urine. Cystosoma manzoni eggs are found in the venules of the inferior mesenteric group in the sigmoidorachal area. From these venules, they pass the gut wall and reach the colonic lumen, and then they pass into the stool. When we have Cystosoma japonicum, these eggs are found in the venules of the superior mesenteric veins, and then through these venules, from these venules, they pass into the gut wall and reach the colonic lumen and then pass into the stool. Coming to the pathogenesis, the infective agent is the cercaria. This is the free swimming form as we have seen in the life cycle. The portal of entry is penetration of the skin. So an individual who comes in contact with contaminated water in which the cercaria is present, the cercaria attaches itself to the surface of the skin of the host and then penetrates into the skin. Coming to the pathogenicity, so first let's see about Schistosoma hematobium. So the Cercaria, when penetrates the skin, causes local cercarial dermatitis, also called as the swimmer's itch. Okay, so when this Cercaria has penetrated the skin, there is dermatitis. This is an anaphylactic and toxic symptom in which a person suffers from fever, headache, malaise, and urticaria, which is very prominent. Nextly, a person who's infected may suffer from hematuria with frequency of urination and burning micturition. Then a person may suffer from something called as Katayama fever, characterized by leukocytosis, eosinophilia, enlarged tender liver and palpable spleen. Then there may be hyperplasia and fibrosis of vesical mucosa. It has a special appearance, or it has a condition which is called as a sandy patch. A person may have pseudoabscess. A person may suffer from chronic cystitis because of secondary bacterial infections, which may later on lead to calculi. And under chronic conditions, a person may also suffer from carcinoma of bladder. So let's revise once more. Schistosoma hematobium infections can lead to local cercarial dermatitis when the cercaria penetrates the skin. Then a person may suffer from hematuria. A person may suffer from Katayama fever, and there may be hyperplasia and fibrosis of the vesical mucosa. There may be chronic cystitis because of secondary bacterial infections, and in chronic conditions, a person may land up with carcinoma of the bladder. Next, coming to Schistosoma mannsoni and japonicum, they both can again cause swimmer's itch or cercarial dermatitis. They can cause Katayama fever. It is same in presentation like the fever, the Katayama fever seen in Schistosoma hematobium. Then Schistosoma mannsoni and japonicum causes intestinal bilharziasis. This is a colicky abdominal pain with bloody diarrhea. Then Schistosoma mannsoni can cause microabscesses, granulomas, fibrosis, hyperplasia, ectopic portal hypertension, and gastrointestinal bleeding. Nextly, coming to Schistosoma japonicum again, this can also cause intestinal bilharziasis. It can cause periportal fibrosis. It can cause portal hypertension, gastrointestinal bleeding, cerebral and pulmonary involvement may be there under certain conditions or in some few rare cases. Coming to the laboratory diagnosis, the eggs of Schistosoma hematobium can be demonstrated in the urine or the bladder mucosa in the biopsies. Then the antigens as well as antibodies against Schistosoma hematobium can be detected by different serological tests. Radiological diagnosis can also help. We can have X-rays and the ultrasonographies. Coming to the laboratory diagnosis of Schistosoma mannsoni and Schistosoma japonicum, the eggs can be demonstrated in the stool Antigens as well as antibodies can be detected by different serological examination or serological tests, and radiological examination can be done. Blood examination can also be done to detect eosinophilia and increase levels of alkaline phosphatase. Coming to the treatment, we have praziquantel and metronidate used for treating the cystosoma infections. For prophylaxis, we need to have prevention of pollution of water with human excreta. There must be eradication of the molluscum host in the endemic area. Contact with contaminated water should be avoided, and infected person should be detected and treated effectively. So with this, we end with the briefing of trematodes. So let's just revise very quickly. So we have seen what are trematodes, what are the general features of trematodes, what are the morphological specialities of the trematodes, what are the different systems which are present with the trematodes, how are trematodes classified, what is the classification based on the habitat. We have the blood flukes, liver flukes, lung fluke, and the intestinal flukes. In today's briefing, we have discussed cystosoma in details. So we have three important species of cystosoma: Cystosoma hematobium, japonicum, and mansoni. Cystosoma has different morphological forms. It has adult worm. Males and female adult worms are separate. This is a picture of male and female adult worms of cystosoma in copulation. Then these are the eggs of Cystosoma hematobium with terminal spine. We have Cystosoma mansoni with lateral spine, and we have Cystosoma japonicum with a lateral knob. We have Cercaria, which is a larval form of cystosoma. Then we have gone through the life cycle of cystosoma. Cystosoma requires two different hosts, the definitive host and the intermediate host. Man is a definitive host, and snails of different genera are the man is a definitive host and snails are the intermediate hosts. All the three species have different habitat. Life cycle, we'll just have a quick revision of the life cycle. So we have the eggs of cystosoma. Egg hatches out, releasing the miracidium. The miracidium infects the snail. Inside the snail, the miracidium turns into a cercaria. The cercaria is released again in the water, and it infects a human, which comes in contact with this contaminated water in which the cercaria is present. This cercaria penetrates the skin of the human and enters in this definitive host. Human is the definitive host for cystosoma. Then this cercaria turns into or converts into a cystosomule. This cystosomule goes into circulation and it migrates to its habitat. It migrates to the portal blood in the liver and matures into the adult. The adult worms then moves into the vesicle and the pelvic venous plexus, and the female starts laying eggs and at this site. Then we have seen the pathogenicity of all the three species. Cystosoma hematobium will cause cercarial dermatitis, hematuria, Katayama fever, and under chronic conditions it may cause chronic cystitis, calculi, and carcinoma of the bladder. Then Cystosoma mansoni and japonicum will again cause swimmer's itch. They will also cause Katayama fever. They will cause bilharziasis, which is characterized with abdominal pain and bloody diarrhea. And then they have their certain unusual presentations. Coming to the laboratory diagnosis, the egg of Cystosoma hematobium can be seen or demonstrated in the urine and the bladder mucosal biopsy. The antigens and the antibodies can be detected by different serological tests, and radiological diagnosis can be helpful for the laboratory diagnosis of Cystosoma mannsoni and japonicum. Again, the eggs can be demonstrated in the stool, antigen or antibodies can be detected. We can use radiological diagnosis and blood examination to reveal eosinophilia and increased levels of alkaline phosphatase. And then we have its prophylaxis and treatment. With this, we end with the briefing of trematodes. Thank you.